Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you are already a subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Francia, and on this channel, we do a little bit of everything. But lately, I have been interested in true crime. And if you're interested as well, I hope you hit your subscribe button and your notification bell so that you always know when I upload. Okay, so my voice is still very bad. I don't know what else I can do. I've done all the things I have done. I have drank all the things. I don't know. It's still bad, so bear with me, okay? Today's story is a little different in the sense that it gives a great insight on the struggles that we faced back in them days, such as a lack of evidence, because I don't think that we knew how to collect them per se, especially when it came to DNA evidence, the influence of psychological manipulation, and the flaws of the mid-century when it came to criminal investigations. Now, we still have such a long way to go, but we're doing so much better, okay? We're doing so much better, especially with the DNA situation. We're doing so much better, or I like to think. And today's story, this guy was often associated with the Boston Strangler killings. And I say associated because you will see why later on in the story. And he was one of the most infamous criminal figures in American history. He did confess to unaliving and raping 13 women between 1962 and 1964 in the Boston area. But there continues to be a great debate over the legitimacy of his confessions. And again, you will see why later in the story. Who exactly are we talking about? Let's get into it. Albert Henry DeSalvo was born on September 3rd, 1931 in Boston, Massachusetts. He was the third of 6 children born to Charlotte DeSalvo, née Robert, and Frank DeSalvo. His dad was said to have been a violent alcoholic person who would put the paws on the wife and sometimes the children. Albert said that he was smashed across the back one time with a pipe because he didn't move fast enough for his dad. Yikes. That's a little extreme. And most of the time, Robert, the dad, put hands on his wife. He would do it in front of the children. Oh yeah, the dad was sick on a different level. Okay, this guy was a savage, a monster. One time, and this happened in front of the kids, by the way, he knocked out all of her teeth and bent her fingers backwards, all the way backwards until they broke. Can you imagine the level of pain this lady must have endured? Can you imagine how much strength it takes and the level of pain to knock somebody's teeth out? That's crazy. I don't know if you've ever gotten an x-ray of your teeth, but them suckers don't stop right at the gum line. They're situated all the way past the gum line. Do you know the pain? My goodness. And to bend her fingers backwards until they break? What? That is crazy. And it was said that homeboy, the dad that is, would also bring home sexy time workers, and he would engage in sexy times with them right there in front of his wife and the children. I am speechless. How did she cope? How did she do it? I don't know. I do not know. No wonder the son turned out to be a piece of shirt, because dad was a piece of shirt senior. What? Oh my goodness. By the time Albert was 6 years old, he already knew how to shoplift. What? At 6? What is going on? Or what was going on? That is nuts. I don't know, a 6-year-old to me is like a little baby. Like, I don't know. I have a 6-year-old and I think it's a little baby. My baby would not even survive in my driveway. I don't know, let alone out here shoplifting and like conceal the items that you take. I don't know. I can't. Anyways, it was said that Albert started to torture animal as a child. Yeah, that's never a good sign. Here we go. It's starting, ladies and gentlemen. It's starting. By the time he reached his early adolescent years, he already had several run-ins with the law for stealing and shoplifting. He was arrested for the first time in November of 1943 for battery and robbery. He was only 12 years old. 12 years old. Some 12-year-olds are bold because I can't even fathom, and that goes for my brother as well. Like, we couldn't even cheat in class, let alone go to a whole store and steal stuff. And even after you get caught by the police, that still didn't freak you out enough to make you stop. It's the level of boulderization for me. Like, they're just out here bold as can be. And he would carry on with this boldness because the arrest didn't faze him. He just continued to get in trouble, and by December of that same year, he was sent to the Lyman School for Boys. It's a place where they send little boys to see if they can correct their behaviors and turn them into, regular human beings who are not out there doing the most like this guy was. Now, I'm not sure how long he was in there for, but by October of 1944, he was paroled, and he even got a little job working as a delivery boy. But I'm guessing that did not last long, because in August of 1946, when he was about 15 years old, he was sent back to that school because he got busted again for stealing a car. Boy, what is wrong with you? Oh my gosh. It's like there's no stopping him. But I mean, I guess he tried to stop, because after he completed his second sentence for the car theft conviction, he joined the military, and sadly, he was discharged twice. I don't know what kind of situation that guy was going through. I don't know. He got an honorable discharge at first, got re-enlisted, and then got another honorable discharge. So yeah, that didn't work out for him at all on that front. But it wasn't all for nothing, because while on a tour in Germany, he met a girl. Oh no. I mean, I don't mean oh no as if they're not deserving of love, relationship, companionship, or whatever ship they need. But it's just that I feel bad for the other person, and even worse when children come into the picture, But anyway, after they got married, they returned to America, and they lived a modest life after his discharge, with him working as a handyman and a factory worker. His wife gave birth to a daughter who sadly had some physical disabilities, but still they were okay. It was said that Albert had a very strong libido. Homeboy could do it, and could do it often. And he wanted to do it all the time, and his wife tried to avoid him as much as possible because she didn't want to have another kid with disabilities. Oh man, that's sad to think about. However, they did have another child, and he was a healthy boy. Good for them. Albert afterwards seemed to live a normal life. He became a family man who was well liked by his peers. He had a little bit of a problem where he talked a lot. He bragged a lot about things that he did that he probably didn't do, or exaggerated. He was very boastful, which made it hard for the police to believe him when he claimed to have been the Strangler. As much of a normal person or dad or husband that Albert tried to be, he just couldn't keep up with whatever demons that he had inside of him, or whatever darkness he was dealing with seemed to overpower him, because by the time he was 29 years old, he started doing the most. He was breaking and entering. He became a peeping Tom. He even pretended to be a model scout so that he would have a chance to walk into people's house, like young women's house, like young women who were aspiring models, the ones that would open up for him. He would go into their house, try to measure them, just so that he could come in contact with their skin and stuff. Like, just freaky. He ended up spending 18 months in jail for that crap. Yeah, he did. I swear people are just so creepy. How are you just gonna walk into someone's house and tell them you're a model scout and you're just gonna take measurements of them? I don't know. Scouting models must have looked different back in them days, because that ain't a thing. They don't go to your house and ask to measure you. They scout people in public places like, the mall or something. I don't know. But yeah. Like I said, must have looked different back then, because the heck you knocking on people's door for? But anyways, let's continue. Between June of 1962 and January of 1964, a whole bunch of people were losing their lives in the Boston area. Oh my gosh, my voice is literally giving out. About 13 victims, all women between the ages of 19 and 85, that is so random, had been raped and strangled inside of their homes, like except for two of them. Two of them weren't raped. It was determined that the women either knew their aggressor or voluntarily let them in their house because there were no signs of forced entry. That is so sad. He probably presented like the model scout, he probably presented to their house posing as something, or just being really good at it made them believe him that they would let him in. Now, around the late 1964, police was dealing with a lot on top of the bodies piling up, and there was also a series of rapes being committed that they also needed to solve. Remember that, because we're going to circle back around to this grape situation. On June 14th, 1962, 55-year-old Anna Slessers was unalived in her home. Anna was a very nice, kind seamstress and a faithful believer who attended church regularly. That day, her son came by to pick her up to go to a memorial service, and sadly, he found her body in the bathroom with cord around her neck, which made him think that she might have committed suicide at first. But when detectives showed up, an assessment of the crime scene revealed that she was naked and that she had been raped. The apartment looked like a hurricane went through it. Her purse was on the floor with all the contents just spread out on the floor. It kind of looked like a robbery took place, but there was like a gold watch and pieces of jewelry there that nobody took. So either it was a dumb robber who left the goods behind, or somebody tried to make it look like a burglary gone bad. Poor Anna. Poor Anna. A couple of weeks later, on June 28, 1962, Mary Mullen was found unalived in her house at the age of 85. However, after they did an autopsy on her, it turned out that she died of a heart attack. But, I'm thinking, poor thing, he probably entered her house and then scared her to death. Literally. We'll never know. 2 days after Mary Mullen's body was discovered, 68-year-old Nina Nichols was also found naked and deceased in her home. It also looked like it was a burglary, except nothing of value was stolen. After Nina, though, police figured that they were dealing with a serial killer, and they started working to solve the murders. They profiled the killer to be a psychopath who has some sort of hatred for his mother, hence the killing of older women. And they also alerted all women to lock their doors and be very careful, especially with strangers. That's crazy that it's come to that. As police was working on the previous murders, the killer struck again, and 75-year-old widow Ida Erga was the victim. She had been strangled. Her body was found on the floor with her nightgown ripped and her legs spread apart on 2 chairs with a cushion under her booty. It also appeared that perhaps she knew her attacker, or she was somehow convinced to let him in, because once again, there were no signs of a break-in. Oh man. The very next day, 65-year-old Jane Sullivan received the same fate. The people were living in fear. Understandably so. The police was still working, trying to find the person responsible for those bodies. And I don't know, maybe the perpetrator felt like they were closing in on him. It was like a long time before he struck again. 3 months later, he attacked again, and this time the victims were a little younger. Maybe he was trying to throw the police off of his track by going for a younger person, but that's what he did. Sophie Clark was 21 years old when she was unalive. She was found nude, and she also had been raped. It was said that Sophie was very careful and took her safety very seriously, so seriously that she didn't even date. But for whatever reason, she must have let that creep in her house. Man. This time, though, detectives were able to collect DNA. They found some man juice on her. Yeah. Even though he changed his ammo a little bit, police still thought that they were dealing with the same person. Plus, a neighbor had told the police that a man had knocked on her door earlier and insisted that he was there to paint her apartment. But thank God she didn't open the door, and she told him that her husband was sleeping and he left. And I'm guessing that's when he went over to Clark's house, and he must have used the same tactic. And since she didn't have a husband, she must have let him in, and that's how he unalived her. Poor thing. A few weeks went by, and then 23-year-old Patricia's body was found in her apartment. She was sadly pregnant. Oh man. And when she didn't show up for work, her boss went to check on her and found her under her sheets. She had been raped and strangled. The police was working very hard, desperate for answers, but it appeared that they were being thrown a curveball every single time, because not only did the perp change his ammo and started going for younger people, but the next body, 68-year-old Mary Brown, was found 25 miles north of the usual murder place. Yeah, talk about confusion, because that's 25 miles is not close, okay? The next victim would confuse police even more, because 23-year-old Beverly was found deceased on May 8th of 1963. She was found with her hand tied to behind her back. She was gagged. She had 4 stab wounds in her neck and 22 on her body. She had also been raped, but there was no man juice left behind this time, and it was believed that the aggressor couldn't strangle her because she had very strong neck muscles, because she was a singer, and that's why he ended up having to stab her instead. Oh my gosh. Yeah. As you can imagine, police were lost at this point. They got even more desperate that they sought the help of a medium, because, I mean, I get it. I don't know if I would have gone as far as, consulting a medium, but that was like completely different. The gagging, the stab wounds, that was nothing, because if they were following a trail before, they went younger. There's that. And even if police still believe, okay, they went younger, but could still be the same person, the next body was found 25 miles away from the usual crime scene. That's a curveball. And now this person, this next victim, their hands were tied behind their back, they were gagged, and then they were stabbed. So that's completely different than whatever they had going on before. So yeah, they sought the help of a medium. Didn't help. I don't even know why folks do this, but didn't help. Give him all the wrong information. And the killer ended up striking again on September 8th of 1963. 58-year-old Evelyn Corbin's body was found in her bed. She was nude. Her underwear had been stuffed in her mouth, and there was also a trace of man juice on her underwear that was in her mouth. And also her apartment looked like there was a robbery. On November 25th, 23-year-old Joan Gaff was raped and deceased in her apartment. This time, several descriptions of her attacker matched that of the man that the neighbor described as the one who came knocking on her door to paint her apartment. Creep, which was really good for police. That was a start. This next and last victim was on another level, though, just when you thought it couldn't get worse. On January 4th, 1964, the body of 19-year-old Mary Sullivan was discovered by her roommate. She had been strangled. She was found in a sitting position. She was also raped, but the sicko used a broomstick to... Oh, man. Poor girl. What a psycho. What a psycho. Now, after they found her, there was panic everywhere in the city. And remember when I said earlier that on top of the murders, police was also investigating a lot of rape cases? Well, as unsuccessful as they had been catching the guy unaliving the people, they would catch a break in the grape situation. On October 27, 1964, this guy entered a young woman's home pretending to be a detective. He then tied her to her bed, raped her, untied her once he was done, apologized, and then left. She was able to also give police some really good information about his description, and shortly after, they were able to arrest Albert. At the time of his arrest, though, he was not suspected of being the Strangler dude. He did, however, confess to his cellmates later on that he was in fact the strangler. The cellmate then told his lawyer. His lawyer sat down with Albert and interviewed him, and Albert gave him a lot of details about the victims and the inside of their homes, details that were not revealed to the public. He knew about, so the lawyer was inclined to also believe that he was the strangler. After they formally charged him with the grape cases, Albert confessed on 2 occasions that he did unalive the people. Once was under hypnosis, and the other one was without hypnosis, just interviews with the Attorney General. Like I said, he was so detailed in his description of everything about the victims, their apartment, the color of their furniture, and again, details that were not revealed to the public. So everybody, including the police, they believed that he was in fact the strangler. But they ended up not charging him for the murders because all they had was his confession and no physical evidence tying him to the victims or the crime scene. So there's that, sadly. Now, he was evaluated by some psychologists who diagnosed him with some mental disorder. And so his lawyer tried to use his murder confession to try and plead guilty by reason of insanity, but the judge didn't go for that. So he ended up entering a plea bargain just to avoid the death penalty. In January of 1967, Alex was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Now get this, the following month, homeboy escaped. Yep, he just left. He was like, yeah, I'm out of here. The conditions of this prison is not to my liking, so peace out, homies. But it didn't last long. 3 days later, he turned himself in. Thank God. Can you imagine? And they transferred him to a maximum security prison. Once he got there, though, he took back everything that he had said about being the Boston Strangler. Sadly, I don't know if it's sadly, but on November 25th, 1973, Albert was found deceased from stab wounds. Now, although there were no more victims, no more bodies that popped up since Albert was arrested, the Strangler case was never solved. But I'm thinking, did he really do it? Because if he wasn't him, the real perpetrator must have been watching very closely and wanting to pin everything on him, since he already confessed to being the one to have done it. And they were like, okay, now that he confessed, he's arrested, let me stop messing around with these people, and they will know that it was really him. You know what I mean? Like, unless he did that, unless the real perpetrator stopped unaliving people after he got arrested just to make sure that Albert's story was plausible, why is it that people stopped turning up deceased after he got arrested? Coincidence? Maybe? I don't know. Comment below and let me know what you think. Now, in case you didn't know, it took a while, all the way in 1986, before DNA could become a thing in murder investigations. So on June 2013, they found out there is DNA evidence that could potentially link Albert to the grape and the unaliving of 19-year-old Mary Sullivan. So they exhumed his body for testing. They weren't great at like collecting stuff back then, and a lot of the other people didn't have man juice on them, so they didn't collect DNA, but they did find some man juice on her, and he was in fact a match with the DNA and the man juice. So I think we can all agree that he may have committed at least one of the murders, allegedly, because he wasn't charged, you know. But there's still a lot of doubts out there, because even if his DNA was a match for one, there were 13 other victims, and the ammo did change a bit a couple of times. Also, people who knew Albert and were very close with him, they said that there was no way he could have done this. His wife knew that he didn't do it. Albert was a boaster who wanted to be more than what he was. He made things up a lot to sound more interesting or more important than he actually was. Albert wanted notoriety and thought taking responsibility for all those murders was the best way for him to become famous. That's crazy, because people are investing time and energy into talking to you when they could be out there chasing the real person who did this, and you're wasting people's time because you want to be famous. And there were also rumors that people also felt like he was claiming to be the one because he wanted to collect the reward money for his family, because he knew he was going to be locked up for the rest of his life. He wanted his wife and children to be set. Psychologists who have worked with both Albert and George Nassar described Nassar as a misogynistic, psychopathic killer, and that he was far more capable of committing the crimes than Albert ever was. In a 1999 interview, Nassar denied having had any involvement in the murders, and he believed that these speculations ruined his chance for parole. He stated, quote, "I had nothing to do with it. I am convicted under the table behind the scenes," end quote. So if Albert wasn't the guy, right, and Nassar wasn't the guy, but coincidentally the people stopped turning up deceased after they were both locked up, then who did it? Who did it? Well, let me know what you think. Your guess is as good as mine and as the police task force, because they still didn't lock up anybody for this case to this day. At first, I was convinced that he really did it, but now I'm not sure. Yeah, let me know what you think. I still think that there is a good chance that it could be between him and George Nassar, but like I said, I'm not sure. I also think that allegedly he committed at least one of them, but I don't know. Comment below and let me know your thoughts. And that, ladies and gentlemen, conclude our case for today's story about Albert DeSalvo. He did fit all the criteria that would make him the perfect suspect in the serial murders. You know, like the broken home, the torturing of animals as a kid, the getting in trouble with the law very early on. But did he really go in the route of petty crimes and grapes, or did he ever go as far as unaliving people and get away with it? Let me know your thoughts. Anyways, that is all that I have for you guys today. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next one. But until then, I hope to see you in the comment section. Bye. Now time for me to go drink some more stuff because, ooh, child.